ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णा प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णा चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुविज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। आप सभी का स्वागत है श्रीमद् भगवद गीता के।
We welcome all of you to this class on Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Gita. We are studying second chapter, verse number 23. In the previous verse, Bhagavan said that this body is like clothes. So from that verse, he explained the difference between body and Atma, as he was explaining in the verse prior to that also. Because the primary reason for dejection is the lack of discrimination, considering body to be self, and not understanding the difference between the body and the Atma. That is why we fall into lamentation, and its cause is avidya. Because of avidya, ignorance, there is attachment, and because of attachment, there is raga and dvesh, attachment and hatred. So Bhagavan is explaining that only here. So he is telling here,
नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः.
translation,
आत्मा को काटने
weapons cannot cut the self,
और न
nor can fire burn it, water cannot
आत्मा को
wet the self,
सकता है,
nor can wind dry it.
वायु उसे सुखा सकती है. तो ये संसार में जितने भी पदार्थ हैं सब
So
प्रकृति के
whatever we have in this world, the material
और प्रकृति के विकार
objects, they are all transformations of Prakriti.
स्वयं विकार्य हैं, यानी कि उनमें विकार होता है.
So they are all subject to transformation.
विकार है और उनका भी आगे विकार हो सकता है. और
They will be subject to
प्रकृति का
transformation further also.
पृथ्वी से आगे और कोई विकारी पदार्थ नहीं है.
There is no transformable element further to
बनाए जाते हैं
earth, Prithvi element.
वो पृथ्वी तत्व से
All the weapons which are made, they are made from Prithvi, the earth element.
पृथ्वी तत्व का प्रभाव जो है वो
So the effect of the Prithvi, the earth element, it is only on those that are subject to transformation. But that which is immutable,
इसका कोई प्रभाव
which is beyond Prakriti, beyond nature,
इसलिए
they are not subject to such transformation.
है कि शस्त्र इस
That's why it is said here that weapons cannot cut it,
अग्नि इसको जला नहीं सकती है.
fire cannot burn it,
पृथ्वी का ही विकार है.
because Agni, fire is also a transformation of earth element only. Water cannot wet it,
ना ही वायु उसका शोषण कर सकती है.
and air cannot dry it.
आत्मा इन सबसे परे है क्योंकि आत्मा
So Atma is beyond all this.
वस्तु है.
Atma is not a material element.
कोई क्रिया होती नहीं है.
There is no such transformation in the Atma. There is no Kriya, no action in the Atma.
विभू तत्व है और प्रकृति का ही है.
Akasha, which is everywhere,
में इनका कोई असर नहीं पड़ता है. आकाश को ना कोई शस्त्र काट
these effects which are mentioned here, they do not happen even in Akasha.
सकता है, न वायु उसको सुखा सकती है. तो जब आकाश की ऐसी स्थिति है तो आत्मा तो
So if Akash also cannot be subject to such transformations mentioned here, then what to speak of Atma? Atma is beyond that also. So such transformations are not possible in Atma.
वास्तव में
So all the transformations which are there in Prakriti,
भी मैंने समझाया था कि एक प्रयोजक करता होता है, एक
that is due to Atma only.
प्रयोज्य करता होता है.
I had explained in the previous class that there is Prayojan Karta, Prayojak Karta and Prayojya Karta.
निधि मात्र से ही
And the Prayojak Karta gets the activity done just by its presence.
विज्ञान है.
Like now we have the modern science, chemistry.
कुछ प्रक्रियाएं होती हैं जिनमें
So in that there are some
कहते हैं कि जल में
reactions which need a catalyst.
प्रकार के मॉलिक्यूल होते हैं.
Like in water, we have two molecules, hydrogen and oxygen, two of hydrogen and one of oxygen.
लेकिन अगर आप हाइड्रोजन
They combine to form water.
तो मिलके
But if you simply keep hydrogen and oxygen together, it will not form water. You need a catalyst for that.
कैटलिस्ट वो होता है जो क्रिया को आरंभ
So catalyst is that which
करने में काम
begins the
स्वयं
kriya, the activity,
कैटलिस्ट के ऊपर कोई प्रभाव नहीं.
but catalyst itself does not get affected
क्रिया को करने के लिए
by that
आवश्यकता है.
reaction.
अगर क्रिया नहीं हो
But without catalyst, that reaction is not possible.
आत्मा है
Similarly,
वो
the Atma,
प्रकृति में विकार पैदा करती है.
it brings transformations in Prakriti by its presence.
स्वयं अविकारी रहती है.
But Atma itself is not subject to vikar or transformation.
विकारी है लेकिन उसमें विकार संभव होता है जब उसमें उसका संपर्क आत्मा से हो.
So the vikar in Prakriti is only possible when Atma is near that. So here it is told that just by seeing transformations in the body, we cannot say that there are transformations in the Atma also.
अगर बाहर वाली वस्तु अग्नि से, जल से, वायु से या पृथ्वी तत्व से प्रभावित होती है तो तो उसके अंदर जो वस्तु है वो भी प्रभावित हो।
So it is not necessary that if the external object is getting affected by transformation, the object inside will also get affected similarly. It is not necessary.
तो अगर शरीर मरती है या शरीर कट
So Atma is inside the body. If the body is being cut or the body is burning,
लगा सकते हैं,
so we can make an inference
आत्मा भी
that in that the Atma which is there, that will also get burnt. So Bhagavan is refuting that point in this verse that the Atma, the weapons cannot cut the self, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet the self, nor can wind dry it. So that is not possible in the Atma. So the object that is Vibhu or that is Anu, in both of them, you cannot chedan, or means cutting it is not possible. It cannot be pierced. So cutting is only possible for that object which has avayavas. That object which is not made of parts, it cannot be broken into parts. Like Akash, Akash is not made of parts. That's why Akash cannot be broken into parts. Regarding Atma, there are two points of view. So many philosophers, they say that Atma is Vibhu, like Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Sankhya, Yoga. They consider the Atma as Vibhu. They accept there are many Atmas, but they accept it as Vibhu. Then there is Advaita Vedanta. It also considers Atma as Vibhu, but according to Advaita Vedanta, there is only one Atma. So for all of them, Atma is Vibhu and it is Niravayava, means it is not made of parts. And as far as Vaishnavas are concerned, they consider the Atma as Anu, and Anu also cannot be broken into parts. So whichever point of view you take, whether those who consider it as Vibhu or the Vaishnavas who consider it as Anu, this verse applies to both of them. In any case, whether you consider it Vibhu or Anu, what this verse is saying, the weapons cannot cut the self. That is applicable on both. So here Atma's quality is being shown, that Atma is not affected by all these things which are mentioned in this verse. Atma is asanga. It does not have any sanyoga, any contact with anything else. That's why any vikar, any transformation is not possible through any weapon on the Atma. And it is not just about weapons. Sometimes it also happens that we hear some kathas that by some mantra or tantra process also somebody can be killed. Some maran kriya, uchchatan kriya. So that also does not happen on Atma, because Atma is beyond all that. So Bhagavan is explaining that same point again in the next verse. So, translation: the self cannot be cut or burnt. It cannot be moistened or dried. It is indestructible, omnipresent, stable, immovable, and eternal. So actually, there is nothing new that Bhagavan is telling in this verse. What he is telling here has been explained earlier also. All the 4 points which are mentioned in this verse, they were in the previous one also. And as far as the next line in this verse, that has also been explained in the previous verses. So in one way, whatever is being explained in this verse is a repetition. But here, the fault of repetition will not be applied, because Atma is such an object which has never been experienced by anyone. And because nobody has experience of Atma, that is why the explanation of Atma has to be repeated here by Bhagavan, so that our samskaras become very firmly fixed in that understanding. Although we are Atma only, and Atma only experiences everything, but Atma is not knowing itself only. And not knowing itself, Atma considers the body to be self, and that is why all the problems arise. So that is why Bhagavan is explaining that same point again, so that we become firmly fixed in this understanding. So Atma is Nitya, it is eternal. Atma is Sarvagataha. This word is a little difficult to understand. What is the meaning of Sarvagata, omnipresent? Because it seems from this word that Atma is present everywhere. It is Sarva Vyapi, omnipresent. So Advaita Vedantists also say that Atma is Vibhu. So now the question is, how will Vaishnavas explain this? Because according to Vaishnava Acharyas, Atma is Anu, it is not Vibhu. And Sarva Gata means that which is going everywhere, it is present everywhere. And because it is present everywhere, then it becomes Vibhu, Sarva Vyapi. So this word is explained in different ways. One meaning is given by Sri Ramanujacharya in his Gita Bhashya, that Sarvagata means, here Sarva means Sarva Vastu, all the different Vastus, the objects which are there, Atma can enter any of them because Atma is Anu. So since it is Anu, it's entering any object cannot be obstructed. Just like we explained earlier, that no weapon of Prithvi Tattva can cut it. So there is no obstacle for the Atma because nothing touches the Atma. Since nothing touches the Atma, Atma can enter anywhere. So that is one meaning of Sarvagataha. Then Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained in another way. Sarvagata means that its consciousness is spread across the body. Although it is situated in one place in the body, but by its consciousness, it's pervading the entire body. So whatever be the size of the body, big or small, whether it's of an ant or elephant or a dinosaur, which were earlier. So whatever be the size of the body, Atma can spread its consciousness across that body. Third meaning of Sarvagata is that all the different types of bodies which are there, like there are Divya bodies of Devatas, there are Asuric bodies of Rakshasas, and there are human bodies. All the different types of living beings which are there, Atma can get into any type of body. So like these three types of explanations were there, considering Atma as Anu. And those who do not consider Atma as Anu, for them the meaning is very straightforward, that it is Sarva Vyapi, it is present everywhere. So it can be understood in both ways. And then Atma is Sthanu, means it is stable. So Sthanu means which is stable in one place, which does not move here and there. Means uh, it is not moving. It's fixed there, not dynamic. So if you consider Sarva Gata as present everywhere, then obviously Sthanu means you have to take it as fixed, because if something is present everywhere, there is no place remaining where it could go. Because if it can go somewhere, that means it was not present in that other place to begin with. So then it is no longer Sarva Gata. So that is also not possible. Now, those who consider Atma as Anu, for them, Sthanu means that Atma does not, there is no shaking or wavering in the Atma, like there is a pillar. Sthanu means, Sthanu word refers to a tree which has dried up. Its leaves all have fallen off. So there will be no shivering or wavering in that. It will not shake. So Atma is stable. So Atma it does not move from its place, because for that you need wind. If you have to move, if something has to be moved, then either wind has to move it or by your hands you have to move it. But since these things do not contact the Atma, so there is no question of Atma moving from its place. It just remains in its place. There are two types of kriyas. One is that you stand in your position and still you move here and there, move your body. And other is you change your place only. So here sthana means Atma remains in its place and it is devoid of activity. And the next word is achala. Achal means immovable, that is to move from one place to another. So that is also not possible in the Atma. Atma is fixed in its place. So that is why it is achal, it is immovable also. It does not move in its own position where it is there, and it does not change its position also. But still it is called sarvagata. So then there will be contradiction. If you consider it as anu, so considering it as anu, then how can you call it immovable? Because if it is anu, then it will move from one body to another body. And Bhagavan himself said that the Atma takes up another body. He told that in the 22nd verse. So now, Atma, when it takes up another body, it doesn't mean that Atma remains in its place and the new body comes to it. When a person dies, meaning when Atma leaves the body, the Atma has leaves that place and it moves to another body. It is not that Atma remains in that place where it was in that body. If you change your clothes, then you will discard the clothes that you are wearing and you will wear new clothes. So here also, if Atma has to leave this body and go to another body, then it has to move. Then how will it be immovable and how will it be called stable in one place? So this is worth deliberating. So now if I ask you, if you are sitting on your chair, so are you moving or you are stable? If I ask you, you are sitting on your chair and you are not moving, you are just hearing attentively, you are not moving, so I will tell that you are stable. I will not, you cannot say that you are sitting on the chair also and moving also. It's not like that. But you are, but you are stable, but still you are actually moving. Why? Because the earth is moving. The position where you were before when the class began, now you are not in that place, because in 1 hour earth travels a long distance. So even if you are immovable, still you are moving, because what you are sitting on, that itself is moving. When you are traveling in a vehicle, you are not moving. Otherwise, you will get separated from the vehicle. So the vehicle is moving, you are not moving. So in the same way, in the previous class, I had explained that we have two types of body. One is the subtle body and one is the gross body. So death means that Atma leaves the subtle body, Atma leaves the gross body and it gets carried by the subtle body. So in the 15th chapter, Bhagavan will explain this, that how Atma leaves the body. So in that 15th chapter, Bhagavan will explain that this subtle body carries the Atma with itself. So Atma remains inside the subtle body, and the relation of Atma with the subtle body is anadi. It is beginningless. It is since the uh, creation. Here it means since the creation, and that subtle body keeps carrying the Atma. So Atma is sitting on the subtle body. Wherever the subtle body goes, Atma goes there. Atma itself is not moving anywhere. That is why Atma has been called here Achala, immovable. Or Achal, immovable can have another meaning also, that the Swarupa that Atma has, it does not fall from that Swarupa. It is always fixed in its Swarupa. That now that Atma enters different bodies, those things do not affect the Atma actually. That is also one meaning of Atma being immovable, means it does not move from its Swarupa. So, what understanding of Atma has been given in the different darshanas, the different philosophies, then accordingly you have to give the meaning out to these words in Gita. The meanings have to be according to your own darshana. So in Vaishnava Sampradayas, this has been the Atma has been explained in this way. That Atma can enter anywhere, it is stable and it does not move from its position on its own, and it is eternal, it is indestructible. It does not deteriorate, it does not increase in size. Nothing like this or nothing of this sort happens to the Atma. So Bhagavan explained these qualities of the Atma. So when the qualities of any object are explained, it can be explained in two ways. One is by Vidhi, one is by Nishedha. So Vidhi meaning that to explain what it is, and Nishedha meaning what it is not. So these are the two ways of explaining any object. Now, because Atma is not material, it is beyond this material nature, beyond the Prakriti, and Bhagavan will tell in the upcoming verse, Achintya. So, explaining it by Vidhi process that what it is very difficult, because whatever we speak that only of what we have already have experience. We also speak another person's experience through Anuvada, that this is what I have heard, and all our experience is material. Our experience is only of mutable objects. We have experience of the qualities of material objects only. But Atma, Paramatma, Bhagavan, they are all beyond this material nature. So explaining them by Vidhi process is very difficult, because whatever collection of words we use for them, they will be all related to our material experience only. So it will be very difficult to understand what they are. That is why here most of the words Bhagavan has used for explaining, he is explaining through the Nishedha process that what Atma is not. And through that we can make some inference. So here the four words that Bhagavan used, these are all from the Nishedha way, that what it is not. And then the five, in the second line, the five words that he used, that is from the Vidhi way, that what it is. So actually what has been told, that is also like a Nishedha only, because when you say Nitya, now we do not have any experience of anything eternal. all our experience is of temporary objects only. So when somebody is telling us this is Nitya, what we can understand is that it is not anitya, means it is not temporary. That much only we can understand, because we actually cannot experience what is eternal, but we have not experienced that. So, so sthanu can be, we can understand that it does not move, it is stable. So most our knowledge that we have by hearing all this, it is all from anuman, inference only. Although Shastra is explaining and we take it as Shastra Praman, but if we deliberate on that, that it is almost like an Anuman, inference only. So for that only, Bhagavan tells in the next verse. So Bhagavan explains how the Atma is beyond our senses. Translation. So here Bhagavan is telling that this Atma, it is avyakta. Translation. The self is said to be unmanifest, inconceivable and immutable. Therefore, knowing the self in this way, you should not grieve. So what does avyakta unmanifest mean? Avyakta unmanifest means that is not vyakta, that is not manifest. So what is vyakta? Vyakta manifest means that which can be understood by our own senses. Whatever knowledge we gain of the external world, that is gained through our five knowledge acquiring senses, the five gyanendriyas, by seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and those things which cannot be acquired like this by material senses, they are called avyakta, unmanifest. So these things cannot, we cannot get pratyaksha knowledge of these things, non-material things, through our indriyas. So Atma is not a Vishaya for our knowledge acquiring senses. And all the objects that we have around, these are all material. And they are also very limited. Even for material things, like we cannot hear sound of all frequency levels. We can hear sound only in a limited range of frequency. There are a lot of sounds of different frequency that we cannot hear. We can see objects of a limited range only. Even material objects cannot be seen completely by us. We cannot hear everything. Then what to speak of Atma? It is non-material. So that's why here Atma has been called avyakta, unmanifest. So that's why explaining it through Shabda is also very difficult. But still, Bhagavan is explaining that. That's why it's a complicated subject. Explaining something which cannot, whose knowledge cannot be acquired through any knowledge acquiring sense, which is not the subject matter of any of our material sense. So how to explain that? So it is like teaching music to a deaf person. So how to teach that person? Because that person cannot hear only. So that is why we get bewildered in trying to understand the Atma, or different understandings of Shastra arise and people explain in different ways, because what the verse is teaching is about an object which is beyond our senses, and because it is avyakta, unmanifest, that's why it is achintya, inconceivable, which we cannot think of, means it is beyond the mind, because through the mind we can imagine about only that object which we have got pratyaksha knowledge through our senses, direct knowledge. whose knowledge we have received through Shabda. Even if it is not Pratyaksha, but we at least have Shabdik knowledge of that. So that object for which we do not have either Pratyaksha knowledge or Apratyaksha knowledge, we cannot even think about it. We cannot deliberate on that. And because Atma is beyond the senses, that is why thinking about it through the mind also is very difficult, because even if you tell that it is eternal, indestructible, immovable, stable, now what will you think about it in your mind? Because when you think about it, whenever you think about something, you get imagine of a form, and the form that you are imagining, that form is material, because mind itself is material. Shri Krishna is telling Uddhava that object which has never been seen by you, and that object which has never been heard by you, regarding that you cannot have any thought in your mind. That is not possible. That is why here, whatever little Bhagavan is explaining here about Atma, if we start imagining in the mind, thinking in the mind, what shall we think? That it cannot be moistened, cannot be dried, cannot be cut. What will you think about it? What is its form? Because whenever we think of some form. So when we dream, then in dream there are forms. So that's why Bhagavan is telling here it is achintya, inconceivable, avyakta, unmanifest. So that's why in the upcoming verse Bhagavan will tell that it is ascharya. And then Bhagavan says it is avikari, it is immutable. So vikar, transformation, means change in the form of some object. Like if there is milk and you turn into curd. So curd is a transformation of milk. So there is no such transformation in the Atma. That is not possible. So calling it immutable means that it is not the result of any of our activity. Whenever we perform any activity, we perform the activity to obtain some result. Every karma has a phala, every action has a result. According to Sanskrit Vyakaran, according to Sanskrit grammar, all the different kriyas, the actions which are there, they have four types of results, and that result is called karma. The four types of karma phalas which are there, they are called vikarya, samskarya, utpadya, and prapya. All the different activities you do, they are either samskarya, means you are doing samskara of something. Some Samskar means to put some extra quality in that. Like when you take bath and you put some perfume, then it is like samskarya. You are putting something extra. So if your clothes are dirty and you clean it, then that is called samskarya. You clean it. If you clean the utensils, then that is samskarya, cleaning it. Next is vikarya. So vikarya means to change the form of something. If you take vegetable and cook them, so the vegetable which was hard earlier, now it becomes soft. Its taste also changes, its color changes, its form changes. So there is vikar, there is transformation. Third is called utpadya, to manufacture something, to prepare something Like if you have clay, you make a pot. If you have gold, you make an ornament. You have thread, you make cloth. So this is utpadya. And the fourth is prapya, to obtain something. So from your home, you go to temple to take darshan. So this is like prapya, going to the temple. Or you are studying, so you are obtaining knowledge. You are not generating some knowledge. The knowledge is there, but you are getting it. So all the activities that we perform, their phala, their result, it's in these four categories. And some grammarians, they also make a fifth category, that is called tyajya, to discard something. So here calling it avikarya, calling atma as avikari, so we have to understand all those results that we said do not apply here. When if mother keeps guard and tells the child, please protect it from the crows, but what if a cat comes? Then you have to protect it from the cat also, or the dog also. But although the mother only said that keep it safe from the crows, but their crow does not mean only crow. All the different creatures which can spoil that curd, we have to protect from that. So this is lakshana. This is called ajahata lakshana, taking its own meaning and then adding other meanings also. So just like that curd has to be protected from crow, so it also means protect from ants, from cats, etc. So there it means crows plus the other creatures. Similarly, here when Bhagavan is telling avikari, it also means asamskarya, anutpadya, etc. All those are also applicable here. So point is that Atma is not the phala, the result of any kriya, any activity. No activity has its reach there. So therefore, knowing the self in this way, you should not grieve. Because Arjun's lamentation was this only, that how can I kill these people? So here Bhagavan is explaining that whether it is Bhishma or Drona or your own brothers, whether they are soldiers from your side or the other side, they are all Atmas, and Atma is can never be destroyed. It is immovable, it is stable, and body is mutable, it is subject to destruction, it will transform. So understanding this, you should not give up your duty. Now, this does not mean that we can go and kill anyone. No, it simply means that understanding this, that death will happen. So anyway, if death is going to happen, I don't need to perform my duty. No, that is not the case. We should perform our duty. And this is only possible that when we understand this knowledge that Bhagavan is giving here, the way Bhagavan is explaining, if we understand the self in that way, then only we can be fixed in our duty. And here Bhagavan is telling viditva means by understanding. So here understanding does not mean that after understanding you have to go and perform severe austerity, tapasya. The point is that as soon as you get this knowledge, you will get its result. Because the agyan, the ignorance, it covers our intelligence. Like there is darkness in the room, then due to darkness we cannot see the objects, but when they are brought in light, then we can see them. So once you switch on the light, then for seeing the object you don't have to do anything else. Simply by switching on the light you can see that. So similarly, out of ignorance, we have become attached to these material objects, and because of attachment, we have shock, we fall into dejection. So that dejection will go away only by knowledge. So we have to understand it properly. If we understand properly, then we will not fall into lamentation. So we do not have to get rid of the material object. When people hear Bhagavad Gita, when they understand, they become afraid, thinking that now we have to give up everything. So here, what you have to discard is not that object due to which you are lamenting. We do not have to discard that object itself, because the cause of lamentation is not that object, it is the attachment in the object. That is the cause of the lamentation. The object does not have any problem with itself. That's why Bhagavan never tells us to get rid of the object itself. Bhagavan tells again and again in Gita that instead, compared to sannyas, karma yoga is better. One who performs activity devoid of attachment is better than one who is leaving the home itself. Because even if you give up the object, you have not given up the attachment that is inside you. So the inner world, wherever you go, you will it will come out externally, because what is inside must come outside. You cannot stop it. First it will come in the dream, then it will come in the wakeful state. So the attachment can be given up only by knowledge. So you do not have to keep lamenting. So Bhagavan's teaching began with that only. So Arjun was telling that my senses are drying up due to lamentation. So that's why now Bhagavan is bringing that same point again here. So Bhagavan is making the connection. So we have to understand this connection, because what Arjun was telling, that I am, my senses are drying up due to lamentation, and here you are talking about Atma. So what is the connection? So Bhagavan is showing the connection, that this lamentation is due to your ignorance of the understanding of Atma. If you understand it properly, then there will be no lamentation. This is the objective behind why Bhagavan is explaining about Atma here. So when you get knowledge, it gets illuminated. Just like in darkness, we cannot see the objects as it is, but when there is light, we can see. So you don't have to do any separate activity for that. You just have to use your intelligence to understand that. So later also Bhagavan will tell time and again that use your intelligence. You have to reform your intelligence. So this ignorance is seated in these indriyas, and most important is to use intelligence, because through intelligence only we understand everything. So here viditva means by understanding. It's not that I just hear that atma is eternal and it's done. No, we have to understand it properly, and that is possible through intelligence. So that is why Bhagavan is telling here that understanding it like this, there is no need for you to grieve. So this is a very important statement, because in our life there are different types of lamentation. There are different circumstances, different causes in our life for which we lament. But this lamentation happens to only a foolish person, not to an intelligent person. So that means a wise person understands, and one who is not wise doesn't understand. So for a foolish person, when there is transformation in his body, then he starts grieving. So Bhagavan is giving the remedy for that. So we'll stop here. If you have any question, you can ask. So question is, can you explain the meanings of Sarvagata as per Vaishnav Siddhanta? So answer, one is that it is pervading the entire body, and second meaning is that not just one body, it travels to the other body also after death. And third meaning is that it is capable of entering any place. Nobody can stop it. You cannot create an obstacle in its going to any other body. So the question, since if we are not sure of our next destination, we become scared. So what is the solution? So the answer is lamentation the solution? The solution is that you perform your duty. In future, what will happen? Nobody can understand that. It doesn't mean that we keep grieving.
ये नित्य और शाश्वत इनका भेद क्या है?
What is question? What is the difference between Nitya and Shashvat?
से है, मैंने पिछले पार्ट में भी ये बताया था
हाँ,
कि जब कुछ पर्यायवाची
So I had
शब्द
explained earlier also
जाते हैं
that when there are
तो
synonyms
उनका कुछ
used
भेद
for
स्पष्ट
something,
करना पड़ता है, जैसे
then we
नित्य
have
शब्द है
to
सर्वज्ञ
give their
सर्वज्ञ,
explanation with some difference.
उपनिषद में वाक्य आया है कि भगवान जो है सर्वज्ञ हैं और सर्वविद
So
हैं।
in Upanishad also it has been explained
एक ही है
that
सर्वज्ञ
Bhagavan is Sarvajya and Sarvavit,
सर्वविद का
but
मतलब
the meaning is same. Sarvajya and
तो
Sarvavit
इन
means
दोनों
same,
दोष से बचने के
that
लिए
he
इसको
knows everything.
कहते हैं कि
So then
सर्वज्ञ
to
है
avoid the fault of repetition, it is
सर्वज्ञ जानता
explained
है और
that
सर्वविद
Sarvajya means one who understands in a general way and Sarvavit means in a special way.
नित्य शाश्वत
So similarly,
सनातन
Nitya, Shashwat, Sanatan,
अगर एक साथ
we
रखें
have to give their meanings in slightly different way.
उसका ना
if they are coming together. Nitya means one doesn't have any beginning or end, and Sanatan meaning that which does not deteriorate. I had given the meaning also, like if you start from 1 and you divide it by 2, becomes 0.5, and you keep making a decreasing series, it will keep decreasing, but it will not end. It will remain, but it will keep deteriorating. So in this way,
उसका अक्षय
giving the meaning.
होती रहेगी और शाश्वत का अर्थ क्या है फिर?
ये आपके ऊपर है, आप किसका कैसा अर्थ करते हैं।
So it depends on you in which way you take the meaning. More or less meanings are same only.
श्लोक में आए नहीं है, नित्य और शाश्वत आए हैं, आगे जाके
So in this verse we don't have all the three. We have Nitya and Shashwat.
स्थानु सनातन है। तो जब दो शब्द एक साथ आ रहे हैं तो उनका ऐसे अर्थ करेंगे।
So when two words are coming together, then you have to explain like this with some difference.
जो है उसमें अपक्षय नहीं होता है और दूसरे का अर्थ उसमें उपचय नहीं होता, बढ़ता नहीं है।
Okay.
ऐसे अर्थ लगा।
Okay, thank you.
ये वास्तव में तो ये सब पर्यायवाची हैं।
Actually, these are all synonyms.
लेकिन फिर ऐसा भेद करना।
But then when they are together in a verse, then we have to explain slightly differently.
What you said that the Atma is being carried by the subtle body, from to the next body. So how is it cared? How is it being carried
By
when
prana. Prana, you know, air.
yeah.
Air moves, so it carries out.
And when there is no birth anymore,
Then
how is it being
carried by
what is it?
it is not carried anywhere. Then there's no need to carry anywhere. वो पूछ रहे हैं कि आत्मा सूक्ष्म शरीर कैसे।
So she's asking, how does the subtle body carry the Atma? So in the subtle body there is Pancha Prana, Pranavayu. So like we see how air carries, similarly the Prana carries the Atma. Then she's asking, when moksha happens, then what happens to Atma? So when there is moksha, then Atma doesn't have to go anywhere.
प्रश्न है, व्यक्ति की अविद्या का कब और कैसे नाश होता है?
So the question is, when does avidya get destroyed? So the answer, avidya gets destroyed by learning Bhagavad Gita, taking surrendering to Bhagavan, taking his shelter.
प्रश्न है, महाराज जी, मेरा भगवान जी में 100% विश्वास नहीं बन पा रहा है। इसका
So the question is, I am not able to have 100% faith in Bhagavan. I feel that one reason is that my mind is quite dirty. It has anarthas. So other than this, what can I do? So the answer for the faith, even in this world, your faith is in those people with whom you associate. You're living with them. Your faith is in them. So the faith is not coming from somewhere else. You have heard about them, you have seen them, you have associated with all these things. So that's why your faith is in them. If somebody gets born in a religious family, he keeps hearing about them. Somebody is born in an atheist family, so he keeps hearing about that, and then accordingly his faith is formed. Now there are rare cases like Prahlad, who has got lot of who has got faith from the previous life, and even by association of Naradji when he was in the womb. So the solution is, you have to associate with people who have full faith. So as you associate, similarly your mind will get the samskaras. The next question, if family members don't believe in Vaishnava philosophy about the Atma but follow other philosophies, then should we convince them to follow Vaishnava philosophy, or we should not react to them? So the answer is, if you have the capability, you can try to convince them. If you do not have that capability, then keep quiet.
प्रश्न है महाराज जी, काम वासना के विचारों
Next
को
question.
समझने में समस्या
Uh,
क्या उपाय
I'm having difficulty in controlling my feelings of lust. So can you give the solution? So the answer, though, you have to cut yourself off from those things which you see, and then lust arises. So this is what people do. They keep watching objects, movies, etc., which are all lusty. So it is like pouring fuel in the fire. So first is you stop pouring fuel in the fire, cut yourself off from all these type of programs, and read about religion, about philosophy, about our darshan. So why these thoughts come into you? Because the whole world is operating on that only, on karma, on lust only, and we do not have samskaras related to Bhagavan. So you have to feed those samskaras. For that you have to work hard. Until and unless you do not feed yourself with those samskaras, the earlier samskaras of karma which are already sitting there, how will you get rid of them? So you have to stop fueling the old samskaras of lust and start feeding new samskaras related to Bhagavan.
I have a follow-up question to this. What when the calm samskars are just coming from inside? How to stop them?
So next question, what if calm samskaras are coming from inside? So that's what I explained, that already the samskaras of karma are there inside. So give new samskaras related to Bhagavan. So stop feeding the lusty samskaras from outside. Whatever environment we see outside, they are all related to kama and artha. In foreign countries, dharma was not there earlier also. Whatever was there, it got lost. And now from India also it is getting lost. So if you go around in the street, you will see all kinds of hoardings which are all related to lust only. Whatever we see nowadays, it, it's all related to whatever is being sold. It is being sold through some advertisements related to lust only. The calm lust in will definitely be there in that, either through the song or through the pictures, because the industry understands that this is what attracts everyone. So as far as possible, we have to keep ourselves protected from that, because if we get these samskaras, then accordingly thoughts will arise in the mind. So you have to protect yourself from that, and for that you have to do a lot of practice. So one thing is that the whole society is moving ahead towards more and more of karma. So this is like you uh, go in a pond or a lake where there are crocodiles everywhere. They are all ready to eat you up. So this is the situation everywhere. You go out of your home, everything is all related to calm, all related to lust only. So that is being sold everywhere.
प्रश्न है बाबा जी महाराज, आपकी
So
बातें समझ
next
आती हैं,
question.
अनुभव में नहीं आती।
I understand what you speak, but I am unable to experience them. So for experiencing, what should I do? So answer, for experiencing what you are hearing, you have to perform sadhana, because those things which you are experiencing, for that also you have done sadhana. Like people smoke cigarette, do they start deriving pleasure out of cigarette immediately? No. Initially, when a person smokes cigarette, then his mouth burns, there are tears in the eyes, but still he doesn't give it up. He keeps doing it. Then slowly, when he becomes fixed up in that, then he starts deriving pleasure in smoking cigarette. Similarly, drinking wine, the person who drinks for the first time, does he derive pleasure in that? There was a person who was addicted to drinking wine. So wife was always complaining, why do you drink? And he was going daily to the bar. So then one day wife also went with him because he was coming to the home daily and troubling her. So the person ordered two pegs, one for him and one for the wife. Now the wife had never drunk that earlier, so she thought it must be something tasty. So she felt it so such foul smell from that, she just threw it away. So she told, "What is this that you drink daily?" So then he replied, "Now you realize how much tapasya austerity I do daily. Can you drink this? And you think that I derive lot of pleasure from this." So the point is that those who drink initially they also find it very foul smelling, but then slowly they become addicted to that. So you should learn from them how you should become fixed up in your sadhana, which is so positive, which is so beneficial. How those people are doing their sadhana, which is so disastrous, dangerous for themselves, for their family, for society, and still they are fixed up in that. But what we are learning here, it is all beneficial for us. So we should have lot of enthusiasm for remaining fixed up in our sadhana. And without enthusiasm, we cannot attain anything in life. Along with enthusiasm, determination, and with patience, if we work, then we will attain success. So we'll recite the prayer verses.
सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनंदनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मंत्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयः स्यात् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर्ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजंघ्रये भवे भवे यथा भक्तिः पादयोस्तव जायते तथा कुरुष्व देवेश नाथस्त्वं नो यतः प्रभो नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनस्तं नमामि हरिं परम् हरि ओम तत्सत्।